Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And that matters because a lot of people think confidence is this personality trait that you either have or you don't. Like some people just wake up naturally bold, naturally sure of themselves, naturally able to walk into any room and not care what anybody thinks. But the truth is, confidence is not magic. It's not reserved for the loudest person in the room. It's not about being fearless. And it's definitely not about pretending you have everything figured out. Real confidence is built through repeated evidence. Evidence that you can trust yourself. Evidence that you can survive discomfort. Evidence that you can mess up and still keep going. Evidence that your worth does not disappear every time you fail, get rejected, or disappoint somebody. That's what we're talking about today. Because a lot of people don't actually lack confidence, they lack proof. They lack proof that they can do hard things. They lack proof that they can speak up and still be okay. They lack proof that they can fail and not fall apart. So, in this video, we're going to break down the psychology of confidence, how self esteem actually works, why some people seem confident but are really just performing, and most importantly, how you can start building real confidence in a way that actually lasts. Not fake confidence, not arrogance, not just love yourself advice, real self esteem. Let's get into it. First, we need to separate confidence from self esteem because some people use these words like they mean the same thing, but they're not exactly the same. Confidence is usually connected to your belief in your ability to do something. For example, you might be confident at your job, confident in the gym, confident speaking to certain people, confident playing a sport, or confident cooking a specific meal. Confidence is often task specific. Self esteem goes deeper. Self esteem is how you generally see yourself. It's the overall opinion you have about your worth, your value, and whether you believe you are enough, even when you're not performing at your best. So you can be confident in one area, but still have low self esteem. You might be great at work, but still feel like you're not lovable. You might be successful, but still feel like you're one mistake away from being exposed. You might be funny, talented, or attractive, but still constantly need reassurance because deep down, you don't really believe you're enough. That's why some people look confident from the outside, but inside they're anxious, insecure, and constantly trying to prove themselves. And that's an important point. Not all confidence is real confidence. Some confidence is performance. Some people act confident because they're trying to protect themselves from feeling small. They talk over people, brag too much, never admit when they're wrong, or always need to be seen as the best. That's not real confidence. That's insecurity wearing a costume. Real confidence is quieter than that. Real confidence can say, I don't know. Real confidence can apologize. Real confidence can ask questions. Real confidence can take feedback without falling apart. Real confidence can walk into a room and not need to dominate it. That's the kind of confidence we want to build. Now, where does this confidence come from? Psychologically, confidence is closely connected to something called self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is basically your belief that you can handle a specific situation or complete a specific task. A psychologist named Albert Bandura talked about this one a lot. One of the biggest ways people build self-efficacy is through mastery experiences, which basically means doing something successfully and proving to yourself that you can do it. That's why confidence doesn't usually come before action. Confidence usually comes after action. This is where a lot of people get it backwards. They say, I'll start when I feel confident. But confidence is usually the reward for starting, not the requirement. You don't become confident by waiting until fear disappears. You become confident by acting while fear is still there and realizing, okay, I survived that. Think about the first time you learned to drive. You probably weren't confident at first. You were probably stiff, overthinking everything, checking every mirror every 2 seconds, gripping the wheel like your life depended on it. But over time, after enough practice, your brain collected evidence. I can do this. Not because someone gave you a motivational speech, but because you repeatedly did the thing. That's how confidence works. Your brain needs proof. And this is why affirmations alone don't always work. Now, I'm not saying affirmations are useless. Sometimes they can help you redirect your thoughts. But if you're saying, I am confident, I am powerful, I am unstoppable, but your actions don't support that belief, your brain might reject it. Because deep down, your mind is like, based on what? Confidence needs receipts. You build confidence by keeping small promises to yourself. That might sound simple, but it's powerful. Every time you tell yourself you're going to do something and you actually do it, you build trust with yourself. And every time you tell yourself you're going to do something and you don't follow through, that trust takes a hit. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be perfect. Nobody follows through 100% of the time. Life happens, you get tired, plans change. But if you constantly abandon yourself, your confidence starts to suffer because eventually you stop believing your own word. You say, I'm going to start working out Monday, but Monday comes and you don't. You say, I'm going to stop letting people disrespect me, but then the same person crosses the line again and you say nothing. You say, I'm going to finally start that business, that channel, that class, that goal, but you keep delaying it. Eventually, your brain starts building an identity around that. Not because you're lazy, not because you're weak, but because your actions have been teaching you your brain. Not because you're lazy, not because you're weak, but because your actions have been teaching your brain, I don't follow through. So, one of the first steps to building confidence is this: make smaller promises. Seriously, stop trying to rebuild your entire self esteem with some huge overnight transformation. Start doing something small enough that you can actually do it. Instead of saying, I'm going to work out every day for 2 hours, say, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes today. Instead of saying, I'm going to change my whole life this month, say, I'm going to wake up 30 minutes earlier tomorrow. Instead of saying, I'm never going to be insecure again, say, today I'm going to speak to myself with a little more respect. Small promises matter because they build consistency, and consistency builds trust. And self trust is one of the foundations of real confidence. Let's talk about self esteem now. A lot of people think self esteem means always feeling good about yourself, but that's not realistic. Healthy self esteem does not mean you wake up every day thinking you're amazing. Healthy self esteem means even on the days you don't feel amazing, you still believe you have value. That's the difference. Low self esteem says, I made a mistake, so I'm a failure. Healthy self esteem says, I made a mistake and I need to learn from it. Low self esteem says, they rejected me, so I'm not good enough. Healthy self esteem says, that rejection hurt, but it does not define my worth. Low self esteem says, I'm behind everyone else. Healthy self esteem says, I'm on my own timeline and I can still move forward. Self esteem is not about avoiding negative feelings. It's about not letting negative feelings become your identity. Because feelings are real, but they are not always facts. You might feel unworthy, but that does not mean you are unworthy. You might feel behind, but that does not mean your life is over. You might feel like nobody cares, but that does not mean nobody cares. You might feel like you can't do something, but that does not mean you're incapable. This is important because low self esteem has a way of turning temporary emotions into permanent labels. I failed becomes I am a failure. I got rejected becomes I am unwanted. I'm struggling becomes I am broken. And once you start identifying with those labels, you start living in a way that confirms them. That's why building confidence requires you to challenge the story you keep telling yourself, not with fake positivity, but with honesty. For example, instead of saying, I'm terrible at everything, ask yourself, is that actually true or am I just frustrated right now? Instead of saying, nobody respects me, ask yourself, where do I need to set better boundaries? Instead of saying, I'll never be confident, ask yourself, what would a slightly more confident version of me do today? That question right there can change a lot. What would a slightly more confident version of me do today? Not the perfect version of you, not the fearless version, not the version who has it all figured out, just a slightly more confident version. Would they make the phone call? Would they apply for the position? Would they post the video? Would they ask the question? Would they stop apologizing for things that don't require an apology? Would they walk away from someone who keeps disrespecting them? Would they stop shrinking themselves to make other people comfortable? Confidence is often built in these small moments, not the big dramatic movie scene moments, the small ones. The moment you speak up enough, though your voice shakes. The moment you try again after being embarrassed. The moment you stop chasing validation from someone who keeps making you feel less than. The moment you decide, I'm not going to talk to myself like that anymore. That's confidence being built in real time. Now let's talk about comparison because this is one of the biggest confidence killers. And I'll be honest, comparison is hard to avoid. We live in a world where you can open your phone and instantly see someone your age making more money, looking better, traveling more, getting engaged, buying a house, building a business, getting promoted, going viral, changing their body, changing their life, and making it all look effortless. And if you're not careful, you'll start comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. But here's the truth, you are usually comparing yourself to an incomplete picture. You see the results, but you don't see the insecurity. You see the success, but you don't see the sacrifice. You see the relationship photo, but you don't see the arguments. You see the body transformation, but you don't see the discipline, the bad days, the setbacks. You see the money, but you don't see the debt, the stress, the pressure, or the help they had. Comparison becomes dangerous when you use someone else's life as evidence that yours is not enough. Someone else's success is not proof of your failure. Someone else being attractive does not make you ugly. Someone else being ahead does not mean you're behind. Someone else being confident does not mean your confidence is unavailable to you. Their path is their path. Your path is your responsibility. And that's where confidence grows when you stop obsessing over what everyone else is doing and start asking, what am I building? Now, another big part of confidence is competence. People don't always like hearing this, but it's true. Sometimes you don't feel confident enough because you haven't developed the skill yet, and that's okay. If you're new at something, you're not supposed to feel fully confident. You're supposed to feel uncertain. You're supposed to feel awkward. You're supposed to be in the learning stage. A lot of people mistake being a beginner for being bad, but being a beginner is not an identity, it's a stage. You're not bad at speaking, you're learning to speak better. You're not bad at fitness, you're learning how to train. You're not bad with money, you're learning financial discipline. You're not bad at relationships, you're learning communication, boundaries, and emotional awareness. The language you use matters because I'm bad at this closes the door. I'm learning this keeps the door open. And this connects to growth mindset. When you believe your abilities can improve through effort, practice, feedback, and learning, you're more likely to keep going when things get hard. But when you believe your abilities are fixed, every mistake feels like proof that you're not good enough. That's why confident people are not people who never fail. Confident people are people who don't turn failure into a final verdict. They know failure is data. Failure tells you what needs work. Failure tells you where the gap is. Failure tells you what to adjust. But failure does not get to tell you who you are. Now let's talk about the body for a second. Confidence is psychological, but it's also physical. The way you carry yourself affects how you feel. Your posture, your breathing, your eye contact, your tone of voice, your daily habits, all of these send signals to your brain. If you constantly walk with your head down, avoid eye contact, speak like you're afraid to be heard, and treat your body like it doesn't matter, your mind starts absorbing that message. Again, this does not mean you need to fake being someone else, but sometimes your body has to lead before your mind catches up. Stand up straighter, slow your breathing, speak a little clearer. Take care of your appearance, not for validation, but as a form of self respect. Move your body, get sunlight, drink water, sleep. I know this sounds basic, but confidence is harder to build when your body is constantly exhausted, overstimulated, and neglected. Sometimes what feels like low confidence is actually low energy, poor sleep, too much stress, and not enough structure. You can't hate yourself into a better version of yourself. That's another thing we need to address. Some people think being hard on themselves is what keeps them improving. They think if I stop criticizing myself, I'll get lazy. But there's a difference between accountability and self abuse. Accountability says, I need to do better. Self abuse says, I'm worthless because I didn't do better. Accountability helps you grow. Self abuse keeps you stuck. You can be honest with yourself without destroying yourself. You can admit you need work without acting like you have no value. You can hold yourself to the standard without speaking to yourself like an enemy. And this is where self compassion comes in. Self compassion does not mean making excuses, it means treating yourself like a human being while trying to improve. Think about how you would talk to a friend who is struggling. If your friend failed, would you say, you're pathetic. You always mess everything up. No wonder nothing works for you. Probably not. You'd probably say, that sucks, but it doesn't mean you're done. Let's figure out what happened and what you can do next. So, why don't you talk to yourself that way? Because some of us learned that love had to be earned. Some of us learned that mistakes made us less valuable. Some of us learned that being criticized was normal. Some of us learned to motivate ourselves through shame because that's what was modeled for us. But at some point, you have to ask, is the way I talk to myself helping me become better, or is it just making me feel smaller? Because confidence cannot grow in an environment where you are constantly attacking yourself. Now, let's get practical. How do you actually build real confidence and self esteem? Number one, keep small promises to yourself. Pick one thing every day that you can realistically do and do it. Make it small enough that you can't hide behind excuses. 5 push ups, 10 minutes of reading, cleaning your room, drinking water, making the call, writing one paragraph, going for a walk. Every completed promise is a vote for the identity you're trying to build. Number two, do things before you feel ready. Confidence does not come from waiting, it comes from exposure. If you're scared to speak up, practice speaking up in small ways. If you're scared of being seen, practice letting yourself be seen. If you're scared of failure, practice doing things where failure is possible and survivable. You don't have to jump straight into the deep end, but you do have to get in the water. Number three, stop making your worth dependent on outcomes. You can want success. You can want approval. You can want love. You can want recognition. That's human. But when your entire self worth depends on whether you succeed, whether they text back, whether people clap, whether the video gets views, whether the relationship works, whether the job says yes, you are giving too much power away. Your worth has to be deeper than the result because results change, people change, attention changes, opportunities change. But your value cannot be something that disappears every time life doesn't go your way. Number four, build competence. Learn the skill, practice the thing, ask for feedback, study people who are better than you. Be willing to be a beginner. Confidence becomes more stable when it's backed by preparation. You don't need to know everything, but you do need to be willing to improve. Number five, watch the way you speak about yourself. Your words are shaping your identity. I'm just awkward. I'm not that smart. I always mess things up. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I could never do that. When you repeat those things enough, they become mental habits. Start correcting the language, not with fake positivity, but with better accuracy. Instead of, I always mess things up, say, I made a mistake and I can learn from it. Instead of, I'm not confident, say, I'm building confidence. Instead of, I can never do that, say, I don't know yet. That one word, yet, keeps possibility alive. Number six, set boundaries. This one is huge. You cannot build strong self-esteem while constantly allowing people to treat you like you don't matter. Every time you ignore your own discomfort to keep someone else comfortable, you teach yourself that your needs are not important. Boundaries are not about being mean. Boundaries are about self respect. Sometimes confidence sounds like, I'm not available for that. Don't talk to me like that. I need some time to think. That doesn't work for me. No. And you don't have to over explain your no for it to be valid. Number 7, put yourself in environments that support growth. Confidence is personal, but environment matters. If you're consistently around people who belittle you, compete with you, drain you, or only respect you when you're useful, your self esteem is going to take a hit. Pay attention to who you become around certain people. Do you feel smaller? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel like you have to perform? Do you feel like you can't be honest? Or do you feel challenged, supported, respected, or able to grow? Your environment can either reinforce insecurity or help develop confidence. Choose carefully. Now, I want you to say this before we close. Confidence does not mean you never feel insecure. Even confident people have moments where they doubt themselves. They get nervous. They overthink. They question themselves. They have bad days. The difference is they don't let those feelings control every decision. They don't wait for perfect confidence. They move with uncertainty. They act with fear present. They trust that even if things don't go perfectly, they can handle it. That's real confidence. It's not, I know everything will work out. It's, even if it doesn't work out, I'll figure out what to do next. That's the mindset, because confidence isn't about being untouchable. It's about being resilient. It's about knowing that one rejection doesn't erase you. One failure doesn't define you. One awkward moment doesn't ruin you. One bad season doesn't mean your story is over. So if you're watching this and you don't feel confident right now, I don't want you to beat yourself up for that. I want you to understand that confidence is built one choice at a time, one promise at a time, one uncomfortable step at a time. Start small, keep your word to yourself, stop talking to yourself like you're the enemy, do things before you feel ready, build skill, set boundaries, and collect evidence that you can trust yourself. Because the more evidence you build, the more your brain starts to believe, I can handle this. And that's where real self esteem begins. Not in perfection, not in approval, not in pretending, but in self trust. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And you can start building it today. If this video helped you, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. What's one small promise you're going to keep to yourself this week? And I'll see y'all in the next one.